Morning on the Catholic Morning Show.
Let's go to our next guest. Executive Director of the Xavier Society for the Blind, Malachy Fallon, joins me. Hello, Malachy.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Thanks for coming on this morning. This is interesting. I have never heard of you guys before. I was saying we've never really had a guest on that's talked about ministering in this capacity. 120 years old is the Xavier Society. How was it founded?
That's right. So we were founded here in New York City in 1900. Our co-founders were Margaret Coffey and Father Joseph Stottleman. Margaret was a young woman. She was blind, and she taught blind children. And she realized at the time that many of the children in her classes, she was teaching what we call today CCD classes, many of the blind children in her classes didn't have the same reading materials available to them that their sighted classmates had. So she decided to do something about it, and she got together with Father Joseph Stottleman and founded Xavier Society for the blind. And she was not only our co-founder, but she was probably one of the largest donors initially, and she donated $350, which at that time was a lot of money. It was about $11,000 in today's dollars to purchase a stereograph machine, which was a device that allowed Xavier Society to produce essentially books in Braille in greater volumes in order to provide these books, these religious education books, to her students.
So where do you get the books from? Are you just kind of taking classics, or are you coming up with, have authors that write them specifically for the society?
No, so what we do is, we look at a lot of different organizations that name, the best Catholic books or the best religious books or the best spiritual books, each year. And we try to provide as many of those books as we can in Braille and include in our catalog. And then we also, receive requests from our patrons that they hear about a book or a book is recently published and they'd like to get that book, have that book available in Braille. And then still much of what we do to this day, goes back to our original founding. So we're doing workbooks and resource books, textbooks, religious textbooks for children in CCD. So we'll get requests from their teachers or their parents to make those books available in Braille. This is in addition to Braille, we also have some wonderful volunteer readers and who help us produce books in audio. So we work with volunteer readers to create audio books, and then we work with freelance audio engineers to make sure the quality of those audio books are top-notch.
Among many of your patrons, I see here you feature many priests and religious sisters that are blind that have experienced your work. Is there maybe a friend or a story that you can recount from one of these priests or religious sisters, kind of stay close to your heart?
Sure. So when I first started, right after I started as executive director, we had our annual St. Lucy Mass here in New York City. And the main celebrant of that Mass is a young priest, and continues to celebrate Mass with us for St. Lucy to this day, Father Jamie Dennis. He travels up every year to New York City from Owensville, Kentucky, to be the main celebrant in our St. Lucy Mass celebration, which is on the Feast of St. Lucy, which is December 13th. And he's been receiving materials from Xavier Society since he was in seminary, and he continues to receive the Mass propers in Braille. And the Mass propers are essentially the missalettes, so the readings and the prayers and responses to Sunday Masses and the major feast days. So he's just been a wonderful spokesperson for Xavier Society, and really a symbol of what we do and what our mission is all about.
When I was in the seminary, the second half of the time that I was there, my spiritual director was blind. And just really talking to him about that and getting into his world. He was blind for a number of years. And, there are some difficulties, of course, in everyday life for that he was sharing with me. And just, when you think about it, just things we take for granted so often. It's just so easy to do, right? And so, giving the blind here and those who are sight impaired really kind of a place in the church is I think, such a fantastic mission. I mean, I'm fully behind this. What are ways we can support you? How can we support the work that you guys are doing?
So, an opportunity like this to be on your program is very, very helpful because we're, I think you said it in your beginning remarks. You had never heard of us, even though we've been around since 1900. So I think we need to do a better job of making people aware that we exist and to learn about our mission. And for people who are blind, we can't just put an ad in the local newspaper because obviously they're not going to see that. So opportunities like this are very important to support our work and to make sure that we're reaching the people who can benefit from our mission. The other thing is obviously financially. Everything that we provide to our patrons, we provide free of charge. So we rely on donors, individual donors, and a number of smaller foundations and family foundations across the United States to help us with the funding. So, financial support through individual donors and foundations is very important. Parishes also and other Catholic organizations are also very important to us in terms of supporting us financially through their gifts and donations.
By the way, how many patrons do you have?
So on a regular basis, we serve around 2,500 people. And then just in the last year, I was tallying up the statistics for 2022. Last year, we added 150 new patrons. So, we're trying to grow our patron base and, as I said, reach as many people as we can over the years. Is
it just the fully blind, or is it also sight impaired? Because I thought I saw sight impaired as well.
So it's blind and visually impaired, or people say these days no vision and low vision. So much of what we do now, as I mentioned, are audio books, because as people lose their vision later in life, as people are living longer, they're also finding that they may have other afflictions that cause problems with their vision. So as people lose vision later in life, they're not going to learn to read Braille,
right?
But they are very much interested in receiving books in audio. So that's an important part of our mission as well.
Very good. Well, friends, I want to point you to the website. It's XavierSocietyForTheBlind.org. XavierSocietyForTheBlind.org. Malachy, keep up the great work, man. I really appreciate the work that you're doing here, and I'm really fascinated by it. So I'll continue to read your stories and promote your work, and we'll have you on again.
Terrific. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. God bless you. That's Malachy Fallon, everyone, Executive Director of the Xavier Society for the Blind. It's one of the reasons why I love doing this show. That right there is just one of the reasons. I mean, you just learn so much, especially in our church, and again, things that can be so easy for us to take advantage of on a regular basis, and take for granted. That's just another reminder of why not to. So support them, their work. See if I can get them my book. I wonder what goes into that. Get them my book and see if we can get that in Braille. I'd love to do that for them. Or even audio book somehow.
Listen to the Catholic Morning Show weekday mornings at 7 on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, iowacatholicradio.com, or the Iowa Catholic Radio app.